Alright, so I think might try to upload this to YouTube for once. I was kind of thinking about this morning randomly, and I'm just gonna share it with y'all basically. And I kind of like the way I kind of have it broken down, so it's kind of like pretty much like when you play Johnny, there's like two ways you can play this character in terms of offense. When you play offense with this character, like when you're on the offensive, there's like two main kind of like, I think, like ideas you can have, right? Which is number one, I'm just gonna call it like forced mix up, right? So like forced mix up, what I mean by that is kind of like anything that kind of involves kind of like, it's pretty much set play. It's pretty much like putting it on your opponent to react to the thing that you're doing, you know? So like I would say that like Johnny's like three main like forced mix up options is like when he like kind of like dashes up and goes for a throw or goes for a button, you know, you don't know which one he's about to do. When he does YYRC and now you gotta block high or low, and then also TK misfinder, right? I would say like that's the three main ways as Johnny anyway you would like force a mix-up option where you basically like there's no information is not important in this situation. Like it doesn't really matter whether they're defending, how they're defending. You're just trying to open them up. You're just doing the thing and you're like, all right, hopefully it works, right? The other way of like kind of having like offense is kind of like a more reactionary kind of take towards it, right? Like if you have your opponent in the corner and you're pressuring, and then you kind of like wait and see like how do they get out of the corner, you know? Like, so I gave like examples of like forced mix-up options, right? If you're playing like a more reactionary style of offense, right, that would be like trying to punish jumping, trying to punish air dashing, trying to punish mashing or whiff punishing, and also baiting and dealing with like reversal options from the opponent, right? That would be like what you would do if you're playing like a more reactionary information gathering style of offense. And like when you think about these two things, they really do have like their strengths and weaknesses, you know? And it's just like kind of interesting, I think, to really think about these things. Let me see what I got here. So yeah, like for the most part, right? Like when you're doing an option, right, of like forced mix up, right? Like when I'm Johnny, right? And I dash up and I throw you, right? It's like you just do the thing. You just commit to the option, and it's up to the opponent to take responsibility for reacting to it, and you take the responsibility out of your hands, right? And I think that like this idea is kind of powerful. I think sometimes in tournament, I think sometimes in high pressure situations, I think that sometimes just putting it on your opponent to deal with something can be very powerful, you know? You don't have to do anything. You just do it, you know? The other thing that's like good about like doing something like this, or like dash throw, right? Or doing like TK finder or whatever, is like pretty much it takes less skill to do like forced mix up than to try to react, right? Because like if you're trying to react to what your opponent is doing, you're trying to get information, that requires more skill, because you have to like, it puts the weight on your shoulders. You have to do it, you know? But like if I'm just gonna like do forced mix up, you just do it, you know? I just do it, you know? Like there's no, like, you just do it, you know? You don't have to like, you know, think about anything really. You just do it, you know? I mean, obviously if I do a mix up, like if I was to do like a delayed air dash mix up or go low, I mean obviously you would probably look at like if they have resources to do anything about it, but that would be your only consideration, right? Like at the end of the day though, just committing to the options sometimes is very powerful, I think. So like that's like the benefits of force mix up, right? You commit to the option, it's on the opponent to deal with it, and it's just easier to do. It's more reliable. You know, if you're in a tournament, high pressure situation, you just do it. You don't have to like, you know, worry about, oh, can I catch his escape, or can I do this, or can I got a whiff punch. Like, you ain't gotta worry about none of that. You just do it, you know. Let me see something here. So that's like the benefits, right? So like, so let's talk about the disadvantages of forced mix-up, right? So like, number one, I mean, it's kind of, sometimes it can be obvious, right? Sometimes you can go dash throw and it's like, it's kind of obvious. It's like, oh, I need to open my opponent up right now because I just got in, and you just immediately just do the most convenient forced mix-up option at the time, right? And so that's like one thing. It's kind of obvious, can be predictable. Number two, right? Also in general, it's just, it can be defended, right? Like if it sounds silly, but it's like the opposite. Like if I'm just kind of waiting and trying to react to something you do, it's not a thing that like you can kind of defend, you know? Like you're kind of like stuck here if I'm waiting, per se, you know? The other thing would be like disadvantages of forced mix-up. It's more unstable, right? I think that this is the key thing to understand about playing, especially this character this way, is that like if you're constantly going for like dash throw, constantly doing Y and trying to like mix them up, you're constantly trying to do TK misfinder, all these things, all three of those things can be defended. All three of those things have risks involved, right? Going for a dash, you could get mashed out. Going for a dash, especially if they're in the corner, they could back throw you, and now you're in the corner. Now you're in the worst situation, right? You lose the positioning, right? Positioning is very important, and you're taking a risk every time you do that, right? You do YYRC, this could be thrown, it can be blitzed. Sometimes some characters can backdash. You know, some character you can block this and then IB and then throw me when I land. You know, like there's a bunch of things you can do to defend this thing. You know, TK misfinder. You know, same thing. What if it don't work? What if they jump? What if they reversal you? What if they blitz it? Then you just lose your level 3, you know? So like all those options can be defended. They all have answers. And that's like the main thing, right? It can all be like really unstable. So like, let's say you're trying to play the more reactionary style, right? The more reactionary style, right? Like the benefits of playing that way, the benefits of kind of waiting, right? Number one, your actions are unpredictable. Because like, if I'm just standing here, you don't really know what I'm going to do next. You don't really know what I'm thinking. I'm just right here, you know? There's like not much you can really get from me standing here, you know? But if I'm just swinging, then it can be more easily predictable of like, what's my next move, you know? The other thing is playing this more reactionary style is your offense is going to be more stable, right? This is like super key with this character, I think, is that like really you want to play Johnny, like you want to play him where it's kind of like you don't want to get dirty, you know? Like, you know, if you're Leo or you're Soul, those characters, they get dirty. You know, like they get dirty. They don't care. They're rolling in the mud, right? And they can roll in the mud and be consistent, I think. You know, or like maybe not consistent, but like more so I feel like their character needs to do it. For better or worse, they need to do it. And they can get rewarded very highly for playing around in the mud and just getting a random hit, a random counter hit, and it just, the whole thing just spirals out of control. Johnny, you want to play clean. You want to not get dirty. You want to stay away from scrambles, really. Especially when you don't have coin. That's like one of the worst situations to be in with Johnny, is to be in a scramble at level 1. If you got levels, at least you can like hit them and then convert. If you're at level 1 and you're in a scramble, it's not in your favor. Disengage. You know what I'm saying? That's mad stupid to do, right? So overall, let's see. So I was saying unpredictable actions, more stable offense, and just in general, you're taking less risk, right? Like if I'm standing here, I'm not really taking a lot of risk, right? When I'm doing the force mix-up, even though it's good, you're taking a risk. It could not work. They could defend it. You know? So let's see. What is the disadvantages of playing like the more reactionary style, right? Well, one thing is basically playing the more reactionary style. It puts the responsibility on you to react to the options that your opponent might do. You know, if they try to jump and air dash over you, you gotta execute. You know what I'm saying? Like if you just let your opponent get away, or you just fail to like punish them, then what are you gonna do? You know? Also, just in general, respecting your opponent too much. So like in waiting, right? What you could unintentionally do is actually show your opponent too much respect, right? Because basically, like, option one being forced mix-up, just kind of going in and seeing if your opponent can deal with your bullshit. It's kind of like, you know, oh, Pat with the raid. What's going on, people? I was kind of just talking about something that I'm probably gonna put like on YouTube a little bit later. So I'm just gonna continue here. Let me see. What was I saying? Oh, I was just saying, like, if you're playing like a more... Oh, thanks for the follow. If you're playing like a more reactionary style, sometimes you could fall into the habit of respecting your opponent too much. And I think that, like, sometimes that's like really bad too. You know, because like if your opponent will just die to like the forced mix-up options, then just that's so much easier. Like, that's so much less work you have to do, you know? So pretty much, like, between like doing forced mix-up and also doing like a more reactionary style, like, you really have to balance those two like all the time, I think, when you play this character, because if you don't, then if you do one or the other too much, I think it's very bad. I think that you have to do both at some point in time, because I think that it's super grueling on yourself if you really try to put all the weight on your shoulders all the time and try to like earn the hit. You know, like, you can't do that all the time. You know, like, sometimes you gotta just do the mix-up, do the grab, do the overhead, whatever it is. You know, sometimes you gotta just do the thing, you know. But yeah, everyone who's like tuning in, I was just kind of talking about two different options of like how to like play Johnny, in between like whether you do forced mix-up or like a more reactionary style, basically. And kind of debating on, like, you know, basically the idea is that force mix-up takes less skill to do as a player, and playing like a more reactionary, calling out the jumps, whiff punishing, baiting, reversals, things of that nature, that takes more skill to do as a player. But knowing how to like switch in and out when it's necessary, identify exactly when it's necessary to like be like, oh, he'll just die to me doing this, you know? Or he'll just die to me just doing like TK misfinder, whatever, you know, like he'll just lose. I'm good. I can just do that. I can just throw this guy all day and then do something stupid like that and win. You know, like, I don't need to stand here and respect him. He's gonna lose, you know? Thanks for the follow, Clark Kalak. But like specifically with Johnny, I really think that like the key is like you gotta like play clean, you know, and you can't really like get dirty too much, especially when you're level 1. You're level 1, you don't have any coins, and then like you're just like trying to like really fight at level 1. It's just like really bad.